Hey y'all, it's Deb with Home Cooking is for the Birds, and we are going to make a wonderful casserole. My grandson loved this. You're going to start out by preheating that oven to 350 degrees. Then you're going to take a pack of Ritz crackers and you're going to crush them, and we're going to add those to 2 pounds of ground turkey. And I have the alpha-gal syndrome, as most of you know, but if you want to use ground beef, you use ground beef, but I've got ground turkey. And then I put in about 3/4 cup of yellow onions diced and 3/4 cup of red bell peppers diced. The color doesn't matter, that's just what I had. And then we're going to add maybe a 1/2 to 3/4 cup of ketchup. And can you guess what I'm making? I am making a meatloaf. Now, typically, this is basically how I usually make a meatloaf. I do add the Worcestershire sauce because I'm using ground turkey and it makes it taste so much better. And I had just a little bit of A1 sauce I threw in there too because I needed to utilize it. I added 1 egg and just a splash of milk, maybe 1/4 cup of milk. And that's going to make this so moist. And then you're just going to get your hands in there and start mixing this together. Now let's transfer this to a 9x13 baking dish that we have oiled. Let's mash that down into our 9x13 baking dish. I baked this for about 40 minutes on 350 degrees, and that time may vary depending on the oven. That depends on if you're using ground beef too. I'm using ground turkey. It doesn't take quite as long to cook ground turkey. Now let's make some elbow macaroni. We are going to make some homemade macaroni and cheese. I will say this, to make this recipe so much quicker, you can buy the box kind. I don't buy that a lot because it has fake cheese in it, but I do like it, and my grandkids love it. The next time I make this, I'll make it a lot easier on myself, and I will just buy some of that boxed macaroni and cheese. It just makes life easier sometimes. I did use 16 ounces of elbow macaroni. I threw a little salt in there. What do you do to keep your pasta from sticking? I've just always thrown a little salt in there. I don't put oil in there because then your cheeses and sauces do not stick as well to the pasta. And my trick to keep it from sticking is just to stir it a few times when you first throw it in, and it will not stick. And then I like to lay a spoon on top of it so it doesn't boil over. And then I rinse my pasta, which is what I just did. You didn't see me do that. I'm using the same pot while my pasta's in a strainer. And we're going to throw in 3 tablespoons of butter in this pot. And that flour is always optional. Sometimes I like to thicken it up a bit. You can also use cornstarch, and you don't have to put it in at all. Sometimes I don't. It just depends on what type of macaroni and cheese dish I'm making. Once you've got the butter and flour mixed up, let's add about 2 cups of milk. We are going to add an 8-ounce block of mild cheddar cheese. Add about 5 to 6 ounces of this Monterey Jack cheese. We are going to cook this on simmer. Y'all, when it comes to making mac and cheese, I make it different every time. I just use what I have. Just go ahead and throw that in there, and we're going to stir and stir and stir until you get this into a smooth consistency. You can see it smoothing out here, and it just looks so cheesy and yummy, and it was. I love homemade mac and cheese. I grew up on it, but I think we have become accustomed to eating this processed cheese that when you make delicious homemade mac and cheese, it's never cheesy enough for people, so you have to keep adding cheese. And I don't know about you, but my family likes their mac and cheese cheesy. Me, I like the old-fashioned kind. But back to the recipe. We're making this really cheesy, so now we added in our pasta. And I like to strain and wash my pasta, wash some of those carbs out. And then we're just going to give this a stir. And you can see how cheesy this is. Now, you think that would be cheesy enough, but it's not, y'all. So we're going to do something else. We're going to pour this right on top of that meatloaf. And then After that, we're going to spread it out and we're going to top it with more cheese. And anytime you make homemade mac and cheese, if you'll just top it with some cheese after it's done, it makes it cheesier tasting. I would have liked to have added more cheese than what I had on hand, but this is all I had on hand. So I probably added about 1.5 cups of shredded cheese on top of this. However, a good 2 to 3 cups on top would make this really, really cheesy for all you diehard mac and cheese lovers. My family, including my husband, likes it really, really cheesy, and they would have been happy if I would have loaded more on, but I didn't hear any complaints. In fact, they loved it. I loved this casserole. We're going to throw it in the oven for 10 minutes, and after 10 minutes, voila, this is ready to be served. And y'all, my grandson, he smacked the table every bite he took, and I could hear him going, mmm. I asked him, was it good? And he said, yes, Mama. He said, this is delicious. So keep in mind, this is a kid-friendly dish.